But there was more guns than I expected. And once he was far enough away from me, he said, "Why are you trying to act hard? You're just a chubby cripple." And I just told him he should just go away and spit on his wife again.
Damn!
YouAreMopped. Who fucking names their channel then?
What's up, everyone? I'm back, and not just for another interview. I'm back from DebateCon 5, where I got to meet and hang out with this guy, FTFE, and a number of other legends. Craig, it's good to see you again, and welcome to the show.
It's about damn time.
Thanks, man. It was amazing to meet you over the weekend. Had an absolute blast.
For those watching, I'm going to be asking FTFE a bit about his recent debates at DebateCon. Then I'd like to pivot to some more of the fun stuff, like your experience visiting the United States for the first time, meeting Witsit and Lawrence Krauss in the same day, and the incredibly cool and fun crew that came together Saturday night that we hung out with. For the viewers, there'll be chapters on screen right now, if I remember to do that, and in the description below. Let's get into it. So for the first question, I don't usually do this, but for the record, we cannot move forward until I get an answer. Do astronauts work for NASA, Craig?
Does an astronaut work for NASA, Craig? Does an astronaut work for NASA, Craig? Do astronauts? Yes, they do! The biggest employee at NASA are the astronauts!
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Well, I guess so, yeah. That moon landing debate was a lot of fun. Alex Stein definitely did an Alex Stein.
Real quick, let's take a moment. The two debates you did, Craig.
So the first debate was against Andrew Wilson, a very, very well-known creator on YouTube with a huge following, probably the most intelligent person I've ever debated, and extremely well-versed in his subject and eloquent. The subject was, what is better for society, Christianity or secular humanism? And then the second debate was obviously with Alex Stein, and that was on, are the governments hiding a moon hoax?
What an odd thing to try and take you to the mat and go all in with, screaming it over and over again, as if getting you to acknowledge that, well, astronauts, yeah, they work for NASA. I guess the moon landing never happened.
I've seen toddlers have tantrums, and then I've seen Alex. So.
Do you think it's mostly an act?
Yeah, there's a lot of it that is definitely an act, because we talked before and after and even hung out a bit, and he's not like that just talking to. It is prime time of Alex Stein. That's who he is online. That's his persona. That's how he is so popular. And very much like FTFE is my character online, his Alex Stein is a character.
Yeah, I kind of got that. I haven't watched too much of him.
It was a lot of fun, though. That was more like what I'm used to than the first debate I had with Andrew Wilson. It was a subject that I'm very versed in, and it was a dumpster fire, which I'm also very versed in. So I felt a lot more comfortable in that second debate. It was more my setting. Do
you feel you won that second debate with Alex?
Yeah, because it's a factual thing. It's not like, my first debate with Andrew Wilson. It's a much more kind of subjective thing. Everyone's got their own views, but the moon landing, it's a factual thing that happened with physics that can back it up. You can't really lose that kind of debate when you've got truth on your side.
These two topics, I imagine there's going to be a big difference here. But how much time did you spend preparing for this? I mean, you came all the way around the world to debate one topic that you've basically never debated, or one time, and then another topic you were very familiar with. So
for the Andrew Wilson debate, I started prepping from the day that James asked me if I wanted to go, which was probably towards the beginning of December last year. I'd been researching the arguments, watching his videos, doing debate prep, getting a script prepared, checking my stuff with other people. I'd been doing a lot of preparation for it because it's a brand new topic. To be honest, I didn't do any preparation for the moon landing debate until about 2 days beforehand, where I just chucked the thing together because I know that topic so well.
What you just said about your moon landing debate is probably how Andrew Wilson took your debate with him.
Oh yeah, he said that when we asked if he had a presentation. He's like, no, I just going to ramble something I wrote last night. And he'd literally just the night before written down his opening presentation about, his own prescriptions for the Humanist Manifesto, which is, exactly the kind of, I don't need to prepare for a flat earth debate anymore. I've got every argument there could ever be straight at the press of a button on my Stream Deck, and I'm sure that he's exactly the same with all of his arguments. He knows everything off by heart. He's done it so many times. so he didn't need to do a bunch of prep, especially against me, a newbie in the arena. I want to say that I've had nothing but good feedback from his crew. From him and his wife and his whole crew. They've constantly told me that, oh, you know what, you were actually one of the more enjoyable opponents that we've had Andrew watch. You rolled with the punches. You actually seemed intelligent. You might not know the arguments as well, but I think they also want to see me debate Andrew again because they enjoyed Andrew having someone that would give as good as Andrew gets.
Speaking of, do you have anything in mind or considering anything for doing this again in person, regardless of topic?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I will jump at the chance to do this again. It was an amazing experience. Honestly, the whole weekend felt like some kind of fever dream. From getting on the plane at Edinburgh to getting back home, I was like, did that actually all just happen? But I would 100% do it again. But next time, if it happens again, I'm going to be bringing my son as my assistant and cameraman.
Oh, that'd be cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Couple other things. So we'll stick on the debate for another minute. At any point during either of the debates, did you say something that as soon as you were done speaking, you're like, I messed up there. I shouldn't have said that.
In the debate with Andrew, yeah, I made a couple of slip-ups with the terminology. And, actually, as soon as I started talking about something, there was one thing that I was like, you know what, I've just said that completely wrong. As soon as I said it, I kind of realized, and Andrew jumped on it instantly. And I had to concede that point. I was like, yeah, you know what? I was wrong about that, and I concede I was wrong about that, which I think actually he appreciated, because I don't think people normally admit that they're wrong in debates against Andrew.
It's a rare thing indeed, in debates in general, yeah.
But I wish I'd pushed more on points like he gave his own prescriptions based on the Secular Humanist manifesto. I could have just done exactly the same with the Bible. I could have made my own prescriptions based on the Bible that were horrific for humanity, and he wouldn't have been able to debunk it using the Bible. And, I could have done exactly the same. And then he had the argument of, well, the horrible things you're saying about stoning women, etc., there's no Christian nation on earth that does that now. I could have said the same to his arguments, but there's no secular humanist countries that lock women up and forcefully breed them. I could have used his own arguments against him. After the debate straight, I was like, I should have said that, I should have said that, I should have said that.
Were you aware that the audience was going to be 90% Christian and therefore in his favor?
So I figured coming to America, doing a debate about religion, the audience would be more on his side. And I knew I had a fair few people there for me, but I didn't expect everybody else to be there for Alex. It was a good 85 to 90% of the audience were literally his Crucible crew. So, he had them eating every word he said, laughing at everything he said, clapping at everything he said, which made it an immediately hostile environment for me to be debating him. But I actually, even though I was very nervous, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a challenge. It felt very different. I felt invigorated. And I didn't take it as like them being mean to me or anything, and I didn't think Andrew was particularly mean to me. He was just doing a debate performance like I was, and I feel like I rolled with the punches, and I actually enjoyed it.
He quite literally had the home field advantage. It felt that way.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
I was wondering if you noticed that, because, sometimes people are on stage, performers are on stage, and you don't really notice what's going on off stage.
Yeah, it was hard to avoid the applause and the laughter at every cue that he gave, Like when there was a point where there's a bunch of applause for me, I was like, yeah, come on, woo! And it was a decent applause. But then Andrew was like, show him what a real applause is. And the room erupted,
Wait for the applause.
Come on.
Thank you. Let's hear some real applause.
All right, guys, come on.
It's
hard to avoid that kind of thing, but, I enjoyed it.
You're an interesting case study. You've had, hundreds of online debates?
I've had over 1,100 debates with Flat Earthers specifically, and then probably another 200-300 with moon landing deniers and other science deniers. So, I probably had around 1,100 debbates.
Ironically, or paradoxically, you had done 0 in-person debates.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only 0 in person, but I'd only had one previous debate on the Christianity, Secular Humanism topic with made by Jim Bob on Monday Debates a few weeks beforehand. So I'm still extremely new to the topic, even though I've done a lot of research and I don't know the way the debates work, the arguments they use, a lot of the vernacular I'm still used to getting used to using and stuff. So I'm I'm looking forward to it because it's a new challenge and a new thing to learn about and how to be. And like anything, you get better the more you do it. And I want to do it lots, and people can watch me get better as I go.
Absolutely. I think that's the only way to get better. You can watch only so many people debate, and I don't think it really until you're up there and doing it.
Yeah, you can sit in your room and think, oh, I'd say this and I'd say that till the cows come home. But it's when you're in person, it's never that easy. Like with my debate with Andrew Wilson, I had things that I wanted to say, that I wanted to push as topics, but unfortunately, as soon as James announced the open discussion, before I had a chance to get a word out, Andrew jumped in with his questions. And that meant he kind of owned the debate. He managed to focus it on his arguments of his prescriptions to the the Secular Humanism Manifesto, which was very hard because I felt on the back foot the whole time because I didn't agree with his prescriptions, but struggled to articulate how the Humanist Manifesto itself could debunk them. But it wasn't really the point of the debate. Like I said in my intro, Andrew didn't give an argument for why Christianity is better. He just made up his version of secular humanism and said, well, if you can't debunk that, then you lose. And I walked into the trap a lot of the time.
Aside from the things we've already mentioned about the difference between live and online, is there anything else that you totally did not see coming?
Yeah, I mean, it is very different. When I'm online, it's like this with you and I. I'm looking at you and I'm looking at the camera in front of me. There's no one else here. I'm in a very safe space. And I knew obviously it was going to be different, but I didn't expect how much the atmosphere would affect the way that I felt. I didn't feel like I was in my safe space and comfortable and in control of everything. It was very overwhelming. And then with that many, the room was full. For the first debate of the conference, the room was packed, and I could see nothing but a sea of people out there. And it kind of, overwhelmed me quite a lot, but I loved it. It's very different to when I'm debating in my room on my own. I can, do what I want. I can take a break if I need to. I can interact with the chat. I give it a relax when I want. It was a very different environment that it's something I would like to do more of so I can get used to.
What about changing people's minds? And no offense to you, because I don't think he changed anyone's mind either, but I would be hard-pressed to imagine that you changed anyone's mind, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think any hardcore Christians would have looked at my arguments and gone, well, I'm no longer a Christian.
And vice versa, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone that has already decided that there's no God and stuff his arguments would have convinced them either. But I don't think the point of these debates is really to change anyone's mind. It's more to just have an intellectual discourse in the best way you can and put on a show. Because DebateCon is about a show. It's about the audience. It's about the experience, right?
People are coming there to see their guy or their girl. So
yeah.
Last thing is to compare that to your experience of changing people's minds online.
I mean, I've changed a fair few people's minds online, and I think that's because I can make it a more personable experience. Like with Rachie 50s, we've had a very turbulent relationship before she finally decided she wasn't a flat earther anymore. We've had some very mean back and forward messages, but we've always kind of been there talking to each other personally. And, a lot of that back and forth she's managed to reflect on, and, it helped change her mind. And then she was like, right, okay, I realized why I was wrong, and I want to thank you for all the time you've given me, even if it was hostile sometimes. But that's not, you're wide open when you're doing it live like that. Everyone's there watching everything. There's cameras on you from every angle. There's no personality about personability about it.
So, I have it on good authority that you did have a face-to-face with Witsit, and words were spoken.
Yes, there was a few.
What were those? What kind of words? Were they kind words?
Well, I saw him checking in, and I wanted to go and talk to him. There's a lot of people around, and then he disappeared. And then I was going outside to speak to some people, and he was just in between the two doors in the lobby, kind of facing away from me on Discord or something. So I stood behind him, and I was like, Austin Witsit. And he turned around, and I pulled a vape out of my pocket, and I held it up. I was like, do you want a vape? And he just kind of went, I was like, why I did that? But yeah. I just had some pleasantries with him. How was your flight? How you looking forward to your debate? How's your preparation for it gone? And that was kind of a just an introduction that I wanted to have. I wanted to be the one to go up to him and say hello and shake his hand. And then he got in an Uber and went somewhere. And then VIP lunch the second day, he was on a table on his own. Nobody sat with him for a good 10 minutes at the beginning, until it seemed like one of the organisers went and kind of gathered people to go and sit at his table, and then asked me and some of my subscribers to go and sit with him. So we did. I just kind of sat there for a while, letting them talk, and as soon as I sat down, Witsit was sat like this. And I was kind of messaging Will Duffy at the time. Just sat down with Witsit, and I said, "Oh, Witsit, Will says hi." He was like, really?" And then we started talking about vaping, and I was like, "Yeah, why did you have to be all weird about it and stuff?" And then he's like, "Oh, you don't even know what you're talking about." And I was like, "So you come back and you've said that it's actually a flat Earth model?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, it clearly is." I went, "Well, Jeranism disagrees with you." And he said, "I don't care about Jeranism." And then I started asking him, how can he still think the Earth's flat after seeing that? And he started arguing with me, and I said, "Look, you don't know anything about maths or physics or science, so how can you come to these conclusions?" And he got really stuffy with me and looked at me in the face and said, "You're a psycho."
Oh wow! I didn't know this went down. Go on.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, you really think so, do you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I might get my phone out and start recording." And I just held up my phone and I said, "Well, I might just start live streaming."
You're putting your camera in my face, so I'm putting your camera because I'm pissed off at you.
He's like, "Yeah, just leave me alone." And I promised James and my wife beforehand that if he said leave me alone, I would. So as he said leave me alone, I was a man of my word, and I stood up and I said, "You've asked me to leave you alone, but I'm going to. But before I go, you've always said no one would say this to your face, so I'm going to. You are a pathological, narcissistic liar. And cool about anything you talk about, and you should literally just go away." And I just turned around and walked away. And I'll explain why I was this hostile to him. But there was one more interaction. I was talking to Mike from the Drunk Debunk show after the dinner. And then as he walked past, I was like, "Yeah, Witsit couldn't look me in the eye. I've had such a good weekend." And once he was far enough away from me, he said, "Why are you trying to act hard? You're just a chubby cripple." I asked him how many push-ups he could do. And then he just said I was really unprofessional, and that's why I'm not invited to these things. Whilst I was there at the thing. And I just told him he should just go away and spit on his wife again. Damn! And that was the last word we ever spoke to each other. But there's, some might think, "Oh, you were really mean to him." But he has spent the past 3-4 years calling me a degenerate and a scumbag and, a scum of the earth, the Antichrist and all these things online. And he just never thought that I would say the things that I say to his face. I don't like bullies, and I think he is a bully. And he thinks he's in his safe space when he's online, and no one will ever say these to his face. And I couldn't let that stand.
I mean, I hope whether you guys ever speak again, I hope you guys can just let bygones be bygones.
If he wants to apologize for the things he said to me, I'll apologize for the things I said to him. But at this point, the onus is on him to be the one to step forward, because this was a result of the things that he has said about me and about the person I am. When all I've ever done is point out the fact that he's lying to people and prove it. And if he wants to make it like that, then I have to stand up for myself. I didn't cause a problem. I didn't be aggressive. I didn't, do anything that would have been, a concern for modern day debates. But Austin pushes a lot of opinions that are frankly horrific. Like, he's quite a fan of the mustachioed man on X and things like that. And I don't feel like I have any, I don't feel like I was nasty because of who he is.
I would still hope that, he can get things back on track. And I'm not trying to sound condescending or like I have pity for him or anything. I'm just saying, Yeah.
If he could actually show some humility, admit he's wrong about something, apologize for the things he said about people, then maybe things would be different. But he can't just, he has to expect consequences when you act a certain way online.
Well, look, I don't want to make this whole conversation about Witsit, and I definitely don't want to pick on him. But one more thing, did you catch his debate?
Yeah, I sat in the front row. it was even worse than watching him in a flat Earth debate. He was clueless about the entire topic. He had nothing but his own personal feelings of detest towards anything trans related. Didn't understand the vernacular, didn't understand the science, didn't understand any of the arguments or the studies that he tried to talk about. And it was very, very clear. And I understand completely why Brianna Wu got extremely irritated with him and called him an effing idiot on stage.
Unfortunately, I missed that. I have to now. I might go back and watch it online.
It was a good debate for entertainment value, but it certainly didn't come off like Austin knew what he was talking about. He had nothing but personal feelings as arguments. I think this is evil. I think this is degenerate. I think this is deviant behavior. Therefore, it's bad.
So no science and no hard data.
No, I actually went up and asked the question, and I purposely didn't want to make it towards Witsit because we'd had our interaction and I didn't want to push things. So I asked Brianna Wu a question, and when I asked the question, she actually said, "Oh my God, thank you so much for actually, having a science-related question. I haven't had a chance to talk about science yet." So, I think she went there expecting much more of an intellectual, good faith discussion about the science behind children transitioning. But what she got was an opponent that just had personal feelings that were against the position that she held.
I'm going to say this. I don't want to pick on him, but she must not have watched any of his content.
Oh no, I don't think she had any clue who he was. When she found out he was a flat earther near the end, I think she saw online or something that she was debating a flat earther. She actually, oh my God, you're a flat earther. What? It makes sense.
Everything
now.
makes sense. The world makes sense again. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I was mean to Witsit, but I didn't want to cause any problems. And once he said, "Leave me alone," I left him alone. But I wasn't going to just have him after the conference go around telling everyone that FTFE was scared of me. He wouldn't speak to me. Because if I didn't say those things, that's exactly what would have happened.
What was your favorite part of the trip? And you're not allowed to say meeting Lawrence Krauss because that's part of the next question. Okay.
Then my favorite part of the debate was meeting you and all the other people that I know through being online. Meeting Mike from Drunk Debunk Show, meeting Rubik's, meeting Borg Emporia, meeting Pat in the chat, meeting all these people that I know from online and interacting with them and being there. It was surreal. It was, I'm not going to lie, a little bit of an ego boost for me, which it always feels nice, but it was incredible to be around people that have been part of my life for so long that I'd never actually physically met, and to interact and just the atmosphere in general was incredible.
But yeah, what a group of legends.
Yeah, it was amazing. Absolutely incredible.
You headed out right when Eric, I don't know if he fell off the bed or tripped over something and then hurt his leg, and you're like, I'm gonna head out, guys.
I decided just before that I was about to leave, and Eric, for some reason, he drank quite a lot, and he sat down on the bed. But before he sat down on the bed, he'd put his drink on the bed like it was a table. So as he sat on it, the drink obviously just spilled on him, and he kind of jumped up, but he had slippy shoes on, so just kind of collapsed on the floor and twisted his leg wrong, and then was like, "I think I've broken my leg." And then I tried to help him up, but he couldn't get up, and I was like, "So yeah, I'm gonna call it a night, guys."
And you're like, "I got a cane, and I can't barely get myself up. So I'm not gonna be any help. Let me get out of the way."
Yeah.
Anyone who wants to hear this full story should go over to Mike's channel, the Drunk Debunk Show. He has a video where he basically tells the whole story of his night from his perspective, and it involves all of us.
We just carried one of our fans, like literally a fan, like not a content creator, not a moderator, literally just a fan. We just carried him into his fucking bedroom.
So when we arrived on the midday, on the Friday, about midday on the Friday, we couldn't book into the hotel until James arrived about 6 p.m. that evening. So we dropped off our bags, my wife and I, and went into Bloomfield to just kind of check out a bit of New Jersey. We ended up going into Wendy's to grab a bite to eat. And there was a crazy man in there with surgical face masks tied to his elbows, shouting at everyone about how they all owed him $1.40, calling everyone a motherfucker, who then got chased out of the Wendy's by 3 of the staff, and then the police were called. And I was like, Well, this is New Jersey then.
Well, that story doesn't surprise me at all, considering where you were.
You're not the first person to say that.
Oh, he's probably there every day. No,
yeah,
but
it did seem like they were used to him. The only thing I'd ever seen of New Jersey and New York is TV and movies. I was surprised to see the New York skyline as I flew in without some kind of alien spaceship blowing it up, frankly.
It's too bad you didn't stay longer and get a chance to go into New York City while we were so close. But
I think if I get a chance to do it again, I'll go again. I'll try and stay a couple of days either side to make it actually worthwhile, get to hang out with people a bit more and stuff. So,
what were you expecting? Were you expecting to see guns everywhere, for example? Some people believe that's what they're going to see when they get here. And what was your experience?
It's not like I was going to Texas. I know it's not like an open carry state. Not everyone has just guns lying around all the time. You go to Texas, people are just carrying around guns and stuff. I know it's not like that in New Jersey, but there was more guns than I expected. Seeing armed security guards at the conference and armed security guards throughout all the airports. That's just not what I'm used to seeing. So it was quite like, oh look, there's a real gun.
Wow, yeah, that's an interesting experience, I suppose, because it's pretty normal for us. But I feel like the misconception is that, well, I'm 43 and I've lived in New York City my whole life, essentially, except for to go to school and for a year or two here. But I've never seen anyone with a gun other than an officer.
Yeah, like I said, you walk around in Texas, I'm sure it's going to be a totally different experience. You're going to just see people in the gas station or whatever with guns on their belts and stuff. But yeah, it's not quite like the movie show. Although one thing I have to say about America is I wasn't overwhelmed by the food there. Everything is just coated in sugar and fat. And you can't even get I don't really like fizzy juice. So I just like to drink things like this that are, just basically flavored water. And you can't really get that apart from something like a sweet tea. So my wife went and got me a bottle of sweet tea, which was, probably about half the size of this bottle, like this, maybe this big. And I was like, that's really sweet when I took a swig. I looked at the back of it, and there was 62 grams of sugar in the bottle. And that is illegal in the UK to have that amount of sugar in something. And everything is just I was going to get a little Caesar salad from the bar outside, the little cafe bit outside the main restaurant. But then the Caesar salad had more calories in it than the donuts that were on display. I was like, what? I'm supposed to be dieting, and I'm like, how do people in America diet? What do you do?
Zero sugar 7-Up.
That's the closest to dieting, is it?
Yeah. Before we go, for those who may not know you or follow you already, let the audience know where can they find you.
My name is Craig McNeil. I run the YouTube channel FTFE, which I've just renamed as Craig McNeil. But you can find me by just typing FTFE into pretty much anywhere on the internet, YouTube, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, all those wonderful places. I stream a few times a week talking about Flat Earth or anti-science stuff. This week coming, tomorrow, I will be doing my own kind of review of DebateCon. Thursday, I'll be having Jeranism on for a ex-Flat Earther interview. But you can also find me on the channel Top Hats Off, where every Friday I do something completely different. I am actually a complete and utter nerd. So every Friday I joined Dapper Dino and a few other nerds to play Star Trek role-playing, where it's basically a Star Trek version of D&D, and we are near the end of our first campaign and about to start our second campaign, which goes to the next generation period.
Once again, I need to thank you. I mean, not just for all the content and stuff you've done over the years, but it was just an amazing weekend, in big part thanks to you, getting to hang out with you and the gang that we mentioned earlier.
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on, and thank you for doing the post-debate interview and being part of one of the most amazing weekends of my life. It was an absolute pleasure. I've seen you on the screen, you're there, you send me super chats, we talk in the chat, but to actually meet you in person and interact with you, it's been one of the highlights of my life, so thank you for being part of that.
Oof, wow,
you helped create a core memory for me, so.
Feeling is definitely mutual, so yeah, thanks dude. We will speak again, I hope.
Absolutely.
All right, take care.
Thank you.